Hi, welcome back. Today I'll be doing a radiator replacement, including the thermostat housing tube and its O-ring. So the radiator started leaking, and so we're changing all this stuff. Also doing a timing belt job right now, so you'll see some other stuff disconnected, but that's on a different video. First things first, go ahead and remove your battery. Start with your negative terminal, then your positive terminal, and take the whole battery out. Then we're going to take the intake where the air comes in. We're going to take this off. We're going to take the where the air filter is, intake filter. We're going to take this cover off. We're going to take the bottom off. We're going to disconnect the hoses. Make sure you mark the hoses so you know where they go back. That way we get this whole area accessible, because that tube stretches from here all the way back here, and you'll see it. And take a peek at the radiator real quick. So the radiator, you can see, got that nice crusty action going on there. It's got some at the bottom too. I've already drained the fluid out of it, so you can see the drain plug down there. Looks like this. Some radiators, you just turn it counterclockwise and it drains out the bottom. In this case, this radiator was, I don't know what the deal with this radiator was. So the radiator I purchased is a Denso. I actually purchased it from rockauto.co. Here's the new radiator. Also purchased the tube, and the O-ring for the tube and for the thermostat. I purchased a new thermostat from the local auto parts store. So there's the thermostat. And the coolant I'll be putting back in there is a 50-50 mix specifically designed for Asian vehicles. It does specify Toyota down here, 1990 and up, so I feel comfortable with this. 10mm socket for each of these. Alright, and it just pulls right out. Place it lightly off to the side. Alright, and I like to put the hardware back to where it is, because I'm a bit forgetful, and this helps me out. And it looks like we got another 10mm socket. Screw right there. Pretty easy. There. And go ahead and pop these clips up. You can use a little screwdriver. They make a special tool, which I'm sure is very expensive, but you just take a little straight. Okay. Also loosen this 10mm with a 10mm socket. Loosen this one with a 10mm socket, and then there's one right here, 10mm socket. And then right here, excuse me. Light. One down here, 10mm, and one more right here. I'm actually using a 10mm opened end, closed end wrench, and two more on the side. One on this side, and one on that side. Three. So 1, 2, 3. All right. So now I think I can. So now we're loose. So now I can. We have a couple of horn brackets to remove, but we'll get that here in a second. Alright, so I just disconnected the horns. That's all it was. And I'm going to put this off to the side. Okay, so now we can access the top of our radiator. But I'm going to use channel locks. So I got that one done. There's actually a tool specifically made for this, but I'm going to use channel locks. I like to take the channel locks and spin the hose to kind of break it free, and it makes the hose come off a lot. So now I'm going to disconnect this electrical connector. There's one farther down there, that electrical connector, and then I'm going to disconnect this electrical connector. This way I can take this harness and kind of flip it off to the side to get it out. Okay, those are disconnected, so I can just take this all the way up. Just kind of out of the way. Next step, I'm just gonna go ahead and get this tube out of the way. Yippee! Now, And I'm going to take this screw and this screw, and I'm thinking, and well, I'll take you along with the ride. I'm thinking I take these screws off, this whole fan shroud will come up out of here. Now I'm going to slide these coolant hoses, get out of the shade here, or into the shade, whichever. I'm going to take this clip, pull these hoses out of here, because they're going to stay for the time being. Alright, and see if this fan shroud will pull up out of here. Something else holding it down. Let me take a peek on the bottom. So as I thought, there's two more at the bottom. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take these coolant lines off, mark them, make sure we know which one goes where, and like a T for top and B for bottom. Put these off to the side. Okay, these lines have been loosened up. All right, I got the transmission cooling lines off. Now I'm going to get this radiator hose disconnected, and then we'll take the assembly out. Okay, so it looks like the bottom screws must be taken off first. So it's a 10mm socket right there, and down there at the other end right here, 10mm socket, so that we can get this fan shroud out separately from the radiator. Okay, bottom ones are out, and this should pull straight up. So this is where the fun begins on the radiator. I knew there was a surprise. So we don't want to take these AC lines off of this front half. So we want to pull the radiator out without removing this. But you can see this bracket down here is being held on with two screws in the bottom, which you can't access. However, if you look down there, there's a screw that you can remove. And when I remove the screw, I'm going to pull this front one up and over the lip so that we can pull the radiator out of here. Okay, have fun. Alright, so I did remove those two screws. With those off, you can take the front one, just kind of lift it up off of those lips so that you can remove the... Yeah, I must say I hate doing the radiator on this car. So as you can see, the radiator is out and the cooling for the AC is still in. Nothing disconnected on it. What I had to do is I had to fish. First I pulled this up and off the lip, and then I fished the radiator out this way. Kind of wiggled it this way so that I could get this side out over here, because this side over here was a bear. But anyways, radiator's out. And you can see it's not in the best shape. Definitely needed replaced. Alright, take this top cover off, 10mm socket here, here. Take these hoses off, make sure you mark them to where you know which goes where. Disconnect your sensor. Disconnect this. Take those screws out, 10mm socket, so you can get this thing. Now with all of that out, you can see your thermostat housing tube right here, and if you follow it all the way back, you can see it. Where is it? Houston, we have a problem. Where is it? Oh, there it is. See that? Alright, so it is held in by three nuts, 10mm sockets. And what's interesting is back there you can see the pink on the backside one, and it's the coolant. So it's been leaking coolant. So not only was my radiator leaking, this thermostat housing was leaking too. So we're gonna go ahead and replace it. All right, with the three nuts off, we have one final one, 12mm socket. All right, now you can fish this little guy out of here. Easier said than done, just gotta finagle him. Looks like you have to actually rotate it clockwise 180 out to fiddle with it here. I'm not out yet, so just a second. Wow, that was fun. It actually comes out this way. have fun. I have a feeling I'm gonna have fun getting it back in there. The new one at least. Okay, so the thermostat sits back behind there. You can see it sitting down in there, and the seal. So go ahead and take those out. All right, they pop right on out. And I got a new one, new seal, and new thermostat to put in. All right, there's the seal, there's the thermostat. All right, so with the thermostat in place, press lightly on the seal on the outside as you're pushing the thermostat in place, and push from the outside, not the inside. You don't want that that seal around the outside of the thermostat to come off, and just in a circular motion, just push it into place. Now take your new tube thermostat housing and fish it back inside there. All right, so fishing that new one in there was a pain in the rear. I wish I had a partner here that could film it while I fought it in there, but it came in the same way it came out, but just you got to be careful of you know, the different wire harnesses and stuff, and it's a tight fit, but it makes it in there. So go ahead and put it into position and put the nuts back in there. All right, so after all the hardware, or after the 3 nuts are installed on this tube, and this nut right here, which took a 12mm socket, is installed on tube. The tube is secured, the thermostat is in place, and the seal is in place behind it. So now let's go ahead and start reinstalling all this stuff, starting with the anything that we disconnected up inside. Put everything back in place. Now's a good time to change the filter if it needs change. All right, now's a good time to take the brackets off the bottom of the old radiator. And it might be 8mm. I want to clean them off with the wire brush first. $8mm or 5/16 inch socket. Gonna have to reuse the old clips because the new radiator did not come with clips. All right, bottom brackets removed from old radiator and installed on new radiator. Now I'm gonna go fish this radiator back into position. I must say it slipped in there much nicer than the old one came out. All right, taking the top clips off of the old radiator, putting them onto the new radiator. All right, position the fan after you get the brackets secured on top. Go ahead and position the fan shroud in front here and secure it. Okay, fan shroud is secure on bottom and on top. And now I'm going to hook up the transmission coolant lines. Take off any plugs that are on here and put the lines back in. Install them the same way they came. Now we're going to reinstall the top brace. Okay, so now resecure the hardware, the 3 bolts for this. Yeah, so now I'll go ahead and just put the rest of the plastic hardware in right here, and then put your battery into place. Make sure you radiator hoses are next. So my friends at O'Reilly Parts sold me the wrong upper radiator hose. It's kind of frustrating, but the upper one wasn't in bad shape, but this lower one was in worse. So I'm gonna put the original one back in place and go get a new one later. All right, plastics are back on. Now with everything into place, it's time to add the antifreeze to the system. And finally, after you've filled up the fluid into the radiator, put your battery back in the tank and let it run for a little while. Run the coolant through the system, make sure the car doesn't overheat, and check your coolant after it cools down. Okay, thank you for watching my video. Please don't forget to press like, and if you like watching my videos, subscribe. So here's a list of the items that I did replace. You can see it totaled up to just under $265 in parts. Labor was nothing because I did my labor myself. So I'm not kidding around when I say this job is going to take you at least 3 hours. The radiator is not the simplest radiator to get out of there. The thermostat housing and the thermostat getting to it, well, a lot of stuff to take off, as you can see in the video. It was quite interesting to pull that thermostat housing out of there. So all in all, it's going to take you at least 3.5 hours to do this job. Now, if I were to walk out there to my car today and do this job and someone had a stopwatch, I could probably do it in 2 hours, simply because I just got done doing it. Anyways, looking online at a Toyota estimator, I can see that a Toyota dealership will charge you anywhere from just under $600 to just under $800 to do this job. That probably only includes the radiator. They're going to charge you for the thermostat housing, the antifreeze, and all the extra service charges will be added on to that. So conservatively speaking, you're probably looking at at least $800 to do a radiator job. So all in all, we're looking at a savings of anywhere between $350 to $500 of savings doing this job yourself. That's conservatively speaking. You're probably saving yourself a lot more money than that. Anyways, thank you for watching my video, and I appreciate all the comments that you guys and gals leave, and I look forward to making another video for you.